Awesome. So welcome, guys. It's great to see you all here. We have the amazing Jackie Lapin all the way from the States with us today. And Jackie is an extraordinary woman. She's been setting up an amazing business and has been helping people really get into speaking opportunities around the world. And we'll be talking today with Jackie about how you can use the services that they have, but more importantly, what to be doing as a speaker right now when the world has changed quite rapidly in the past few months regarding the speaking industry. Some parts of the industry have been completely decimated. Others are taking off. Online speaking, of course, and online summits and things like that, just taking off like mad. So Jackie, thank you for joining me. First of all, Jackie, give us a little bit of background about you and where you've come from and why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, mine is an unusual story. I started out at the age of 11 deciding I wanted to be a sports writer at a time where there were no female sports writers in America. I went on to be at the Detroit Free Press at 20, at the Associated Press and on the front pages of the Los Angeles Times at 21, and at the Washington Post at 22. And from there, I segued on to having one of the largest sports special events and cable TV PR agencies in America, with a world-class client list. Everybody from the National Hockey League to Toyota Motorsports to the Golf Channel to, Avon and Showtime and all these other kinds of stuff. And last thing I did was I launched the worldwide poker phenomenon with the World Poker Tour. I wrote 2 books. I was called to write 2 books in personal growth on conscious creation. The second one was the best spiritual book of the year at the International New Age Trade Show. About that time, I realized I didn't like working with the changing landscape of mainstream media. And what I really wanted to do was serve the people of the world that were making it a better place. And so we rebranded the company as Conscious Media Relations and started doing radio podcast tours that reach 9,000 radio shows and podcasts. And we'll come back to that in a minute. And so we've been doing that for about 10 years, very successfully. And some of my clients kept saying to me, well, can you book me for speaking engagements? Can you book me for speaking engagements? And we realized that we didn't want to be in that booking business, but we knew where a lot of those opportunities were. So we created something called SpeakerTunity that gives people leads where they can book themselves. We take all out of the time out of finding those leads. And then we leave it up to you and your team to go out and pursue them. And that expanded from just speaker leads to radio shows and podcast leads and virtual summit leads. We're the only people that tell people about virtual summits before they actually get booked. So all of those things created SpeakerTunity. And then we've gone on to the new product, which I'm really excited about, which is SpeakerTunity Cities, which gives people between 800 and 1,500 speaker leads in the market of their choice in North America. And this makes it so easy because we've identified them in the business sector, in the service sector, in the consumer sector, and also in the spiritual sector. So it just, wraps it all up in a nice tiny bow. And so that's basically how we've evolved to where we are. We're the guys that help you get booked easily and effectively without spending gazillions amounts of time just doing it.
Brilliant. I love it. So you've had quite a range of background. I love it. And the world certainly has changed a lot, hasn't it, Jackie, when you think about the mainstream media and the fracturing of the media landscape. Do you think one of the things is the biggest challenge at the moment is we are just a little bit overwhelmed with content right now?
Oh, I absolutely think that Zoom fatigue, for example, is a real. I had to go out and get a pillow for my chair because I'm spending so many hours just here and watching videos. And yes, I do think that there is a backlash to it. That it is really making a lot of people overwhelmed. But on the other hand, there's never been a better time to promote yourself. I mean, meetings that were local, that had, maybe 40 or 50 people in the chapter are reaching 200 because they're getting chapter members from here and from here and from here and from here, or people that want to try out a meeting rather than go there. They're coming in online. So, for example, I'm trying to remember one of the events that I used to go to previously They generally had maybe 300. This week they had 850.
Wow. Amazing.
So yeah, I mean, so it's just opening up the world to new people. And if you're a marketer, this is the gold rush.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. And have you seen as well, I mean, obviously you've been at the forefront of a number of things. You mentioned you were talking about podcasts and virtual summits well before other people were talking about them. Have you also seen this influx of people wanting to speak? It seems like everybody wants to be a speaker these days. How are you dealing with that?
Well, I think that's a good thing, because what we do is not for the keynoter. The keynoter is somebody who's experienced, they know how to do it, they've got their contacts. We serve the people that are emerging, that are trying to get on more stages, that the doors aren't already automatically opened for, and they're looking for opportunities, whether that's virtual or whether it's in a room. And don't forget, those meetings are going to come back. You know, I'm predicting that they will start coming back in the fall. In fact, the meeting that I was booked for in July is actually going to happen in person, where I'm speaking. So those meetings are coming back, and our feeling is our directories, you're going to be able to go in there, and some of those meetings are still going to be meeting virtually, and some of them are going to be returned to physical, but they're still looking for speakers. So we believe that the landscape is leveling for those people that are at the beginning of their game. There's more opportunities out there for them. And some of them are feeling a little less intimidated because they're not actually standing in a room with a bunch of people, and they're testing their wings. They're saying, okay, can I do this? Can I create conversion? Can I make a free offer and have people feel comfortable with it? And they can do that in a smaller online meeting, or when they're networking, rather than having to put themselves on a stage with 100 people.
Yeah, brilliant. So the opportunity is definitely there, isn't it? That's the nicest thing, is that there are so many different ways that you can now share your expertise as a speaker. So Jackie, what are you seeing as a trend? Because I know you've talked to a lot of people who are your members, they're getting speaking opportunities and so on. What are you seeing as a trend for the people who are doing this really well, the speakers who are doing an extraordinarily great job versus the ones who really aren't? Maybe there's some do's and don'ts that you can give us some ideas with, Jackie.
Well, I think that they need, obviously they have a clear idea of what they're presenting. They have a great offer, whether it's a paid offer or whether it's a free offer. They have pretty much either developed a really good PowerPoint that they can speak to, or they're speaking to a presentation that they've developed that follows a specific pattern. They've got it down. They know what they're delivering. They're telling their story first, and then they're talking about the pain point, and then they're talking about how what are the things that people, some tips and some guidance, some real value. I mean, people don't do well in any forum if they're not giving value first. The sales pitch, or whatever that may be, the offer, the invitation comes at the end, but you've got to deliver value. So, as long as you're not offending people by throwing that sales pitch in right at the beginning or making it all sales, you got a great opportunity to attract people. The other thing is knowing what meetings are right from you, what conferences. Is this your right community? I mean, people who are looking to be serious about using their speaking as a business builder, they don't go talk in communities or online groups that don't have their target audience. So they're really clear on who they're proposing themselves to be a speaker for. Yeah. So it's a combination of having a great presentation, having a great offer, and having the right audience.
It's a really good tip, because I see a lot of people, as you say, who are emerging onto the speaker scene, and they're almost a little bit desperate to, I'll speak anywhere, and they do end up really doing themselves a disservice by thinking that way, rather than just focusing on their best topic and their best audience. So in terms of getting booked, Jackie, and I mean, you've been obviously working with SpeakerTunity for a long time now, what are some tips in terms of how speakers can make sure that they're the one who's selected? Because obviously when a number of speakers might be looking at opportunities and there's always choice, what are some of the things that make a speaker stand out, either with their bio or the way that they present themselves, that'll help them get booked?
Well, the first thing is having a good contemporary website. If you have an old 10-year-old website, you're not going to get booked, because the first thing that they're going to do is go look at your website. Secondly, you need to have a good speaker one sheet. And that's, as it sounds like, it's a slick, beautifully designed sheet, which you can get done inexpensively. I mean, you can even go to Fiverr. And that has these elements in it. A bio, a good, powerful headline, contemporary photos, not 10-year-old photos, and 3 presentations. Now, let me come back to the first idea, the first concept. Your speaker one sheet has to speak to the problem you solve, not just your great credentials, but it really needs, the bio and the headline need to address what problem do you solve for that audience, because that's what's going to make a booker say yes. So now let's get back to the 3 presentations. If you have only one arrow in your quiver, it has to be a bullseye. But if you have 3 different ones based on different audiences, based on different skill levels, based on different lengths or formats, but I like to have it in 3 different topics, even if they're related to each other, so that they fit the different audiences you may be speaking to. And it gives the booker a choice to say, oh, that's right for my audience. That's not right, but oh, that one would be good too. Give them choice. And then the other thing is, if you can give them some testimonials, just some brief lines about how fabulous you are, especially from people who have booked you. So, I mean, you can put in there, you know, speaker who've seen you, people who've, you know, you've coached, but it's much more powerful if you've had people that have booked you. So you want to have that. The other thing you want to have is 3 to 5 minutes of great video of you speaking from stage, not like this, but speaking from stage, being dynamic, engaging with the audience. That's what they want to see. Don't give them a fancy sizzle reel. Fancy sizzle reel is really nice when they're presenting you on stage, if you're at that level. But all they really want to know is, are you good? So give them a YouTube link where they can see you. So you can either a nice little proposal explaining why you think you'd be a good speaker, or inquiring, this is what I do. Would I be, good for your audience? Your speaker one sheet, your video, and that's what you really should be doing. That will get you ahead of the game.
Brilliant. Love it. Great tips. Everyone should be writing madly when they're getting these tips from Jackie. Just awesome. Just such great gold. Thank you. So, Jackie, when it comes to actually presenting as a speaker, whether that's in an online forum or live on stage, what do you think makes a really standout great speaker?
Somebody who is dynamic, engaging. They're not reading their notes. They're not just looking at their PowerPoints, although you can use your PowerPoints as a reference. And it's better when you can always have it in front of you, like a laptop that shows you the next slides up. Somebody who is interested in being of service. That's really the important thing. If you're standing on stage worried about what they think about you, if you've got that stage fright about, they've always said that the worst fear that of anybody in the world is being on stage. But the truth of the matter is, if you're standing there thinking about what they think about you, you completely miss the boat. They don't care about you. All they care about is, do you have valuable information from them? And if you're standing on that stage from, I'm here to serve, I'm here to help, 1, your butterflies are going to go away. And 2, it's going to make it easier for you to engage, maybe have some Q&A, or, be in a state where they feel your heart. And so that's it. And then obviously one of the things, there's 2 factors in a good presentation, aside from obviously what you're going to offer at the end. One is feeling you, getting an emotional sense of who you are. And that's partly telling your story or being a storyteller. And partly then it's the value of the information you're bringing to the stage. If you're going to give them platitudes, the same old, they are going to be bored. If you're going to give them something new, something fresh, something different, they're going to be engaged.
Great stuff to think about. Great to think about doing that now. If you're getting your speaking business back on the road again, to be working on your presentation now and getting ready for that. One of the things I see, Jackie, which is a little disturbing. I don't know whether it's because there is a larger number of people wanting to be speakers, but so many of them seem to be unprepared. So say, for example, someone has gone to SpeakerTunity, they've gone for a booking, and now they've been confirmed, yes, we're going to book you to do this event and so on. What are the sorts of things that a speaker needs to be doing to prepare themselves to get ready for being a speaker at an event, and maybe even thinking about how you can make yourself ready for what happens at the outcome of that event as well? What are some of the things speakers need to think about?
Well, I mean, obviously the presentation skills, you can go from, as beginner as Toastmasters to having a professional speaker coach. And there are so many good folks out there. So that you are confident on stage, you have your presentation down, you know what direction you're going to go with it, you've gotten some practice at it. Those are all kinds of things. And then once you really are getting to that stage, then, once you've got it booked, then there's a checklist of things that you should go through. Can you, with the host, can you sell on stage? What kind of an environment is it going to be? What do you need on the stage? What kind of sound system it is? Do you need a PowerPoint? All of those kinds of things. We actually have a checklist that, makes that available for people in our speaker booking system. So that you are really confident that the details are nailed down. So you just get up there giving your best presentation. That doesn't mean that things are going to go wrong. They do. But at least that you've really taken and eliminated most of the wild hair elements that, you can focus on just doing your best on stage. So, but, obviously if you are concerned about your ability to deliver, a great place to start is at the lower, the smaller local events. Don't try to go get yourself booked on a 500 seat stage. Go to the smaller events, get your practice up, and that's one of the things. I mean, we have everything from, local chambers all the way to professional association meetings. But the whole point is test locally, get to the point where you're comfortable on stage, start building your expertise, and then start working yourself up the food chain.
Yeah, brilliant. So tell us a little bit more about SpeakerTunity and all the different aspects and how that works for people.
So one of the pivots here is if there's not a lot of physical stages going on, one of the ways that you can get real good exposure, terrific exposure, are radio shows and podcasts and virtual summits. And radio shows and podcasts, certainly we can do it for them. That's what we do with Conscious Media Relations, where we reach 9,000 radio shows and guarantee 30 interviews. And we often work with authors, although the people have, different platforms, so they're fine. But if you don't want to invest in a major effort like we do for you, then the next best thing is you got to go out and do it yourself. So how about we give you a list every 2 weeks of radio shows and podcasts, which is what we do. We give you 25 new shows every month for you to pitch. And we know these are real because I have pulled them out of my database from the radio podcast tour. So we know that they're real. They're not interested in politics. They're interested in what you do. And they're a mix of personal growth, general news, and, improving one's life. And business. I mean, basically, whatever we do, it serves if you happen to have a business that improves one's life, one's business, or the planet. And so for only $35 a month, we feed you all those leads. Then there's SpeakerTunity Radio Insider. That's SpeakerTunity Radio Insider. Then there's SpeakerTunity Summits. And on the first day of every month, we give you a list of virtual summits that are looking for guest presenters. Now, interestingly enough, we get them from England, we get them from Australia. Most of them are US and Canadian based, but not all. And so we're always, and by the way, if you are watching this and you have a summit and you're looking for guest presenters, please reach out. SpeakerTunity.com/the missions. We're looking for more all the time. And so for $35 a month, again, all you're just going to get is massive list. And here's some nice bonus for that. We also aggregate giveaways. So if you're trying to build your list, and we know that summits is a major way you're doing it, another corollary to that are giveaways where everybody collaborates and offers a gift. We track those giveaways and include that in that tip sheet every month. So we also have SpeakerTunity speaker leads, but it's more all over the country, and it's not really in your necessarily just close to home, but it gives you a nice survey of what's going on around the US and Canada, but it's focused on the transformational leader. The nice part about SpeakerTunity cities is it's unique to your market. It is business driven as well as personal growth driven. The business direct part of the directory is 75%, and it's subdivided into 40 industry, ethnicities, and gender. And it gives you a year's access, and you get a PDF or an Excel file or both so that you can manipulate the data however you want. It gives you, at a glance, everything in your market. And so we're very proud of these directories. And they started, your first directory is 479 US, but you know, you get your second directories for less, or if you bundle them, you get them for less. And we have a TEDx directory. Now, this is again US and Canadian based. We've created a directory so that you don't have to go into TEDx and find out, okay, how many are there in my neighboring state? How many are there in the other neighboring state besides in my own state? And look for all that. It's divided by date and or state or a province, so that you can find them easily and quickly. And it's just, you know, it's a no-brainer.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's so cool. So I know a lot of people on our community are from all over the world, including the States. So any one of those opportunities would be useful for you. I love the fact that you're dealing with this in such a local capacity as well, Jackie. That's just such a great way, especially if you say you're an emerging speaker. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're having to pay for flights and accommodation on the other side of the world in order to get on stages. You want to find something local to start with. So that's brilliant. Now, Jackie, given that there's lots of different opportunities that you have with the speaking that you've been talking about, how should someone maybe plan out whether they do I do a summit, do I do a podcast or a radio, do I do a live event? Is there anything that you can think of that would help them know which one to go for first, or what type of speaking engagement they should look for?
Well, okay, so the best way in the door for starters is radio. And by the way, you can find all of this at SpeakerTunity.com. It's all on one page. Because there's no barrier to entry. The summits is a little bit more challenging because in many cases they have a minimum list size. So if you don't yet have a list of at least 2,000 in your email list, you really need to ratchet that up more so that you can get considered for these, because it's generally a minimum list size between 2,000 and 5,000. So that it may make an important consideration as to whether you start there. But if you're already at the 3,000 or 4,000 level in your email, they are both good adjuncts. So they really complement each other. And you could start in either place. Obviously, summits are a little harder to get on, only because the host only takes a certain number and it's a defined time. Whereas radio shows and podcasts are always looking for guests.
Yeah.
So that would be my thinking from that standpoint. And then when meetings start coming back, that's when you start looking at cities. I think the fall is going to be a really good time for that, especially since you want to start booking 2021 now in, like October, November, and December. Even if you're not going to those meetings, you want to use that as a springboard to start booking your next year.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great tip. Because I think a lot of people do sort of leave it to the last minute and they go, oh, it's December, right? Let's think about some speaking gigs for next year. It's too late. They've already planned and booked and filled their schedules. So, Jackie, what great insight today. Thank you for that. Hopefully everyone's got lots from the brief conversation that we've had. Now, Jackie, we have a special offer for the Rocket Launch Your Business members to try out SpeakerTunity and have a crack at going for some of these opportunities. That sounds really unprofessional, but do what Jackie's suggesting. Look at your topics, look at your audiences, get your presentations right, plan out what you want to be doing, look at the future in terms of your business and speaking and what you're going to be doing, and then dive into this and start using it. So Jackie, what's the offer we have today?
Well, it's 1 month free in each of the $35 a month SpeakerTunity tip sheets. So it's SpeakerTunity Speaker Lead, SpeakerTunity Radio Insider, and SpeakerTunity Summits. So a month free, you get to, it's like 150 leads. That is a gift to you. You get to try it, see if you like it. At the end of the 30 days, you'll be asked to say if you want to stay on or if you want to drop off. And you can go in one or all three and just play with them and see what you think. We'd love to have you. We welcome people into our SpeakerTunity community, and that's usually the way people come into us initially, and then they stick around. We've got people who have been with us for 4 years, and so I'd love to have the community come and participate. Do you want me to tell the link, or are you going to put it in?
We'll put the link on at the end of the video so people can see that, and it'll be in the links below as well. So just click on those and check it out. The nicest thing about SpeakerTunity, and I know I've been looking at this for a little while. I discovered Jackie and what she was doing online a couple of months ago, actually. Really, really impressed with, number one, the quality of the leads that you get. I know a lot of the times there are ads that come up saying, you know, get my download of 150 podcasts, and you get those sort of Excel spreadsheets, and most of those podcasts don't exist anymore. It's quite funny, isn't it, Jackie? A lot of people start a podcast with the best of intentions, and 20 episodes in, they've had enough and they haven't actually been posting anything since 2014. So this SpeakerTunity is up to date, good quality leads, and they are really well defined, so that it's not a case of you just going for any old speaking opportunity. You are choosing the opportunities that match your topic, your industry, your audience. They're really well defined. So try it out, guys. It's an amazing opportunity, a whole month for free to try it out and to get going with this and get your speaking business really back off the ground if you've been hiding away a little bit, or if you are emerging. As Jackie said, perfect opportunity for you to get out there onto radio and podcast and start to build your awareness and build your brand, that people start to recognize who you are and see you out there. And also think about just those checklists that Jackie was talking about, getting into those so that you're prepared, you're well-versed, you're ready to go, you're more professional with what you're doing, and you're really, I guess the word, Jackie, is leveraging. And it's all great to be a speaker and to be at an event, it feels great, and you're offering value, and that's great. But what about afterwards? What do you do to leverage the fact that you're now an expert in your area and you're being seen as a speaker and somebody of influence and an expert? So Jackie, are there any final tips that you'd like to leave our members with on what they can be doing with speaking, or specifically with SpeakerTunity? Anything that you think might help them, whether it's confidence or organizing themselves or anything right now that might help them?
Well, here's one thing that I think is really valuable. Start on radio. The more radio you do, the better you're going to be on physical stages. I can remember I did one great presentation so many times that by the time I hit the stage, I had it nailed. So you don't have to be in an audience to actually practice. You can be talking on a Zoom call like this, because many of the podcasts are now, physical viewing as well as not just audio. Practice here. And one last tip, if you are at all nervous about what you are going to present, give the host on the radio show or podcast 20 questions. And before you go on the show, you write out the answers to those 20 questions. Knowing what those 20 questions are going to be, knowing how you're already going to answer them. I don't want you to read them, but it'll give you confidence to say, oh, when he asked that, I'm going to address this. When he asked that, I'm going to address that. Because most of these hosts will actually use the questions that you give them, as opposed to you sitting there going like a deer in a headlight. I don't know what they're going to ask me. So you control the interview when you do that.
I love it. Such a great tip, such gold out of this. I'm sure everyone's now going, oh my goodness, I love this to death. I'm going to jump in and try it out. So thank you so much, Jackie, for having a chat with us today. It's been awesome to meet you. Thank you for everything that you do to support speakers, and to especially those who are emerging and getting out there to share their knowledge and their expertise. And again, guys, I would just encourage you, if you're watching this and you've got some great tips, jump into the offer that Jackie has. The link will be there for you. Go and check it out, go and try it out and find out more about these opportunities that are there for you. Listen again to this conversation that we've just had. Jackie's given you some really great tips and some valuable steps to get yourself organised and get yourself out there. And just remember that you do have the most amazing gifts and skills that the world needs right now, more than ever. So don't hold back. Make sure you get out there and speak about your expertise, your passion, the things that really drive you. So thank you so much, Jackie, for being here. Thank you for everything that you do. SpeakerTunity, check it out, guys. Check the link and go for it. Don't hold back.